Welcome back to another episode of Mentally Damaged. Today we have some more Am I the A-hole questions from Reddit. Before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe and like this video. It really helps us out in the long run. But let's just get straight to it. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband we can't pay for his daughter's wedding? By free_direction_4311. Sound bad, I know, but I'm not an evil stepmom. My husband and I were planning on getting married this June, but due to you-know-what, we really couldn't do the wedding we wanted, and funds are tight. So we ended up doing a courthouse marriage, which is fine because I love my husband dearly, and being married to him was what I wanted, and not the wedding. Once things cool down with the you-know-what, then we are going to renew our vows in front of family and friends. And also our baby is due in November, so by then our son can be a part of our wedding. Now my stepdaughter is wanting to get married next year sometime, and of course her dad was going to help with it. She came over yesterday with a rundown of the costs, and just the venue for an hour is $3,000. Not to mention dress, decorations, and food. It's just way too much to spend for one day. I would love to be able to fund the entire thing, but we just can't do it. The money just isn't there. My husband said he would try to scrape up the cash, but I tried to get him to talk to her about maybe downsizing the wedding or the cost. My hubby works at a very nice state park that does weddings all the time, and usually it's pretty costly. But since he works there, he gets to use their venue for free. And I said then we could afford the other thing. He told her about this and she was livid, saying I was trying to turn her dad against her, and that he owed her this perfect wedding, and that I was being a terrible person because I had to get married at the courthouse. He told her that we just couldn't afford all of it, and she called us liars, and now she won't answer the phone. My husband is a little angry with me, saying we should have just saved up all this year and funded it. But I told him that they are both being silly, and it's not about the wedding, but about the person they are being wed to. Since all this, I feel like I'm a terrible person, and maybe they are right. Am I the a-hole? No. The daughter sounds like an entitled bee. She needs to get over herself. And why would somebody else pay for your wedding? You pay for your own wedding. And if you spend big money on a wedding, paying for your own wedding, you spend the next 5-10 years of your life paying it off. That's why it's kind of crazy to have a big wedding unless you just have that kind of money laying around. So no, you are totally not the a-hole in this situation. Up next we have a question by Snowballs and Chickens. Am I the a-hole if I keep the money a patient left me? I'm 22 female, I'm a CNA, and I do home care. I used to take care of this man who was in his late 90s. He was super sweet, World War II veteran, and a smart guy. He progressively, obviously, got worse as he aged. His daughters were there a lot to watch and take care of him, but they got frustrated with him and would yell and storm out. I was pretty much the only person not to yell at him. When he became incoherent, he would still have the urge to pee and would try to actually go in the urinal. But his daughters kept telling him to ignore it and just go in the brief instead. It was a mess. I didn't know he had a good amount of money stashed away. The house was small and relatively not well kept. The only real valuable stuff were medals he won from photography contests. I used to take him on drives and help him into a wheelchair, and he would tell me all kinds of stories from whatever place we would go to. He recently died from natural causes. As he got worse, the daughters became more frustrated with him and his inability to be independent. He couldn't walk much, let alone stand. He would shake and fall back. And he started to become more forgetful. I don't think the daughters didn't love him. I mean, they took care of him, but the last couple of years of his life were kind of miserable. They argued constantly. When he died, I was allowed to attend the funeral to pay my respects. While I later found out he left me a sum of money to help with college, and that he wanted me to go on to do great things like we had talked. He said I was going to make a great doctor, and there was a pretty emotional letter in it. He left the house to his daughters and some of the money to them, but most of it was left to me, $150K. The daughters were pissed, tried saying I was a whore, that I was probably doing him sexual favors, and they had tried to get me fired ever since by constantly calling my company. My company's HR asked me if I knew about this, and I said no. This has been a total mess. They said the right thing to do is to give the money to them. There's 3 daughters, all in their 50s and one in the 60s. I thought about doing it, but quite frankly, I don't want to. They didn't treat him that well, and it's not like he didn't leave them anything. They also are all well off themselves and work nice jobs. He wasn't cognitively impaired. No Alzheimer's or dementia of any kind. The change in the will was made over a year ago, before he became more confused and weak. I told my mom, and she said it would be rude to disrespect his wishes, that I took good care of him. We struggled with money for a long time, and she sees this as a gift, so I don't have to worry about debt. She's not asking for any of it. So, am I the a-hole if I keep the money? No, it was a gift. You'd be the a-hole if you just gave it back to him, because that's not what the man wanted. You'd be disrespecting his final wishes. So, keep the money, do with it what you want to. That's what he wanted you to do. And just remember the nice guy every time you spend $1 of it. Thanks for listening. Remember to like this video, subscribe on YouTube, and to our podcast. Like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.